This demonstration will show you how to use the Delete Library step to delete a SharePoint library automatically within a K2 workflow. You can use this workflow step in any business process that requires deleting a library within a site in your SharePoint environment. It's also a very helpful workflow step to use if you have automated governance or administration models applied to your SharePoint architecture. For example, you may have an archiving process that moves or copies documents to another location and then deletes the library from its current site. Let's take a look at a workflow that demonstrates this capability. I have a SharePoint custom list called Job Postings that will be used to track the status of job postings for an organization. When an item is added to this list, I have a document library specific to this item created in a subsite called Resumes. The organization can then use this library to store and reference resumes for the job posting. At the end of the job search process, the job posting history will be archived and the document library will be deleted from the Resumes site. I have the basics of this workflow already set up, so this demonstration will focus on the Delete Library workflow step in order to show you how to implement this capability in one of your own processes. When you first drag and drop the Delete Library wizard on your design canvas, you want to open it up and first work through naming the workflow step, setting up your outcomes if necessary, and then getting into the Specify Library window. From here, you have two ways to configure the wizard so that it can find a reference to the specific library you want to delete. And actually, I've already done the work to get a reference to the library by using the Get Library Reference in a previous step, but I'll talk about this option in just a minute. You can use the Browse to Library configuration by first selecting the site collection where your library lives. The next window in this path is called Specify Filters. Here you can plug values into fields that will help the wizard get a reference to the library in the selected site collection when the workflow step runs. Keep in mind, finding the library reference this way makes this library reference available inside this wizard only. No other workflow steps will be able to reuse the reference you configure here outside of this wizard. Also, take a look at all the filter field options here in this list. And make sure to be as specific in the filter inputs as you can to narrow the wizard down to the exact library you want. In this scenario, the resume libraries get created in the Resumes subsite under the HR subsite in my Portal Site collection. So to get there, I would enter the following value in the subsite relative URL field. Then to help the wizard zero in on the specific library in that subsite, I can use any combination of these other fields if necessary. The ID field works the best if you have access to the library's GUID. So let's pause here. As I mentioned earlier, the work to find the library reference was actually already done by using the Get Library Reference wizard in an earlier step. I'm actually going to back up and use that reference by selecting the Use a Library that is referenced in this workflow option from the Specify Library window. The next step after completing either of those reference configurations is to determine if you would like to have the library sent to the SharePoint recycle bin or have it deleted permanently. But be cautious when deleting it permanently. The only way to get it back will be from an archive if you performed an archive process in earlier steps, or retrieve it from backup via your organization's SharePoint backup and restoration plan. One last thing to be sure of is to make sure the K2 service account has access to delete libraries in the designated site. And that's the last step for this wizard. So from here, I'll finish up and deploy the workflow and we can look at the working example. Again, the workflow behind this list is set up to follow the archive path when an item is updated and its status is set to archive in the job postings list. Before I mark this posting as archived, I'll flip over to its corresponding resume library in the Resumes subsite. You can see here that I have a resume library created to capture resume documents in connection with the job posting from the list. So going back over to the job posting list, I'll save the corresponding request record and set its status to archive. Now I'll save it, and the workflow should kick off and delete the resume library. I'll refresh the resume library site page, and now we'll see that the library disappears from the quick launch. We would like to thank you for watching this demo on how to use the Delete Library Wizard. We hope you have a better understanding of how and when you can use this workflow step within processes used by your organization.